Hi, this is Trooper Joe from ArchAngel A Return to Chivalry, and you can catch my show on 7averadio.com every Wednesday from 3 to 4. Thank you. I'm back for an extended. You people get to hear me some more. You people get to hang with me a little bit longer and everything. We got an extended, I don't know what that noise is, that's probably the door. We got extended show here so we can show the interviews we did from the Women of Color, Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition. They had their coming out symposium on Saturday the 29th at Holy Cross. It was well attended, folks. There were hundreds of very powerful, very talented, very hard working and very happy women of color there, along with the regular politicians. No, they showed up too. They were there too, so it was a good thing. You know, and their agenda was really powerful. It was just extremely powerful. You'll hear it in the interview and stuff. They were talking about education, about politics, the judicial system, the financial system, and another thing that'll come up in the things in the interview too. And you know what the most powerful thing about these women that I found was, they weren't there trying to identify the problem. They knew the problem. They already had a handle on what the problems are that they're facing. They were coming there to network, to come together with a bunch of other like-minded, powerful individuals, all women of color, to fix the problem. It's like the problem's going down. There's no room for this problem in today's society. It was time to get rid of it. Not time to identify it and say statistics and all kind of little surveys and stuff. Those are nice. They've been said and said and said and said and said and said some more. These women were there to make the happening happen. Alright? But first I'm not gonna play a song. I'm gonna play a little bit of interviews and stuff from the the politicians that were there giving their support to these women. I mean, that's how well attended it was, you know. These politicians showed up on a Saturday morning, right out there to give support and to these women of color, because you could just sense it in the air long before you entered the building that this here was something that was going to happen, not that they want to happen. This here was going to happen. You know, there's no doubt in my mind or in the politicians' minds that this here is something that's going to happen. So let's see who we got first for the interview. McGovern's the man. Let's put him on. Let's see what Mr. McGovern had to say on Saturday, 29th. Hi, this is Trooper Joe again. Now I'm here with Congressman McGovern, is one of the supporters of this Massachusetts Women Coalition thing right here. What got you involved with this?
Well, I'm inspired by the women who have put this together, and women, especially women from communities of color, I think have been underrepresented, not only in Massachusetts but throughout the country. And when I look around this room, I see future members of Congress, I see future governors, future governors, counselors, and you know, I mean, I want these women here to lead our state, and so. I'm here just to listen and learn. I'm not, as you can tell the way I'm dressed, I'm not presenting anything here today, but I think it's important for people like me to come here and listen and learn.
Well, I'm going to have to say thank you for that myself, that you're here to listen and learn. And they have 5 very powerful, solid issues that they're really focused on. It seems to be the political issue for one that you just kind of enunciated on that, and then economics, school, criminal justice, and health inequities and stuff. And you're all behind them on each one of those issues?
I am. I mean, they are right. And what I want to be is some wind at their back. as they kind of continue to organize and as their voices get louder and louder. I mean, we need to make some changes in policies in Massachusetts, so that there's more inclusiveness, there's more representation, and there's more equity.
Well, I know you're a very busy man and everything, because you got a whole city right here in Worcester that's under development. You stretch all the way down with the Brockton.
No, I go to actually, they changed my district. I now go out to the west. I go all the way to the Pioneer Valley, out to Amherst, Northampton, up to Greenfield, and everything in between. So I represent a very diverse district, not only in terms of demographics, but I have urban areas and rural areas and suburban areas, and so. But the issues that are being talked about here today, resonate, in all parts of the state. And what I really like about this gathering here today, it's about women coming together and saying, you know what, we understand the challenges, and we're gonna fix them. We're gonna make things better. And organizing is absolutely essential. Yeah. I always tell people, it makes no sense to agonize. You got to organize, and organizing is the way you change things. And I believe that when these women coming together today, organizing and talking about the issues and talking about ways to move forward, I believe they're going to be successful. I believe it's going to be effective. And I'm just, again, I'm here not as a presenter. I mean, they hear me enough, right? Everybody hears me enough. But I want to hear them because their voices are just as important as my voice. In fact, more important. And I'm really happy to be here. Well, thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for being here. Look, you're giving voice to what is being discussed here today, and so a lot of people in the mainstream media don't cover some of the most important events, and you're here, being here, interviewing these women. I think that's a great public service. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here. Thanks for going on here. That was the good Congressman Jim McGovern. He had a lot of positive things to say. He sounded as though he was very much inspired by the women that were there from the Mass Women of Color Coalition. And you folks, you could see this interviews on Facebook after this show and stuff, or sometime after that, by going to facebook.com/ArchAngel A Return to Chivalry. And right now I can listen to it on 7 Ave Radio. Now we're going to hear from the Senator Chandler. Hi, I'm Trooper Joe, and I'm here with Senator Chandler, who's the Majority Leader of the Senate here in Massachusetts, and she represents the 1st District here in Worcester, 1st Worcester District in Worcester. So you coming by to give support to the Massachusetts?
I was invited to this, and I thought, my goodness, I want to see this happen. So of course I came by to see it, and to encourage them, because I think this is wonderful.
Yeah, okay, great. So you're all for empowering women of color to be in very high political positions, maybe taking yours one day when you decide to get up?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I mean, we need more women. We need more women of color. We don't, the one woman of color in the House, Gloria Fox, is retiring this year, and got to have replacements in there. Absolutely. I can't have just a blank space there, because without a woman of color, there is no one for children to look up to. There is no one to speak about the issues that really affect women of color.
Yeah, I agree. A powerful voice is going to be lost if she's replaced in that position, not replaced and stuff like that. So you must know a lot of the people here, right?
I know quite a few of them, yes. Yeah, these are women that I hope are thinking about running for office. These are women who have great talent and great leadership ability. All they need is a little bit of a push.
Yes.
That's what everybody needs, is just a little bit of a push.
And you're the one to roll that rock up the hill, huh?
Well, I've been doing it for a lot of years now, so I understand how hard it is. It was hard for me, and I'm not a woman of color, but I am a woman, and I know how difficult it is for women of color, and they need support. So here I am.
That's great and everything. So, all right, I want to thank you for stopping by on your busy kind of networking and having a whole lot of fun right here and everything. And that was Senator Harriet Chandler from the Worcester.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you.
You're back.
All right, that was Senator Chandler's little interview and stuff. The interviews are short, so that's good, but they're powerful. You can see that she knows that there's a need for women of color to be taking an active lead position in the politics and still running up this state. You know, so that was good. Now we're going to hear from a local representative, Mary Keefe. Again, this is Tupa Joe, and I'm here with Mary Keefe from District 15, the state representative here in Worcester. She's here at the Women of Color Coalition. What?
Hi, Tupa Joe. Well, I'm here just to say hi to folks and to recognize the organizing work that's been going on and bringing people from women of color from across the state to talk about Massachusetts and their role in sort of bringing things forward and making sure our communities are strong and are working together, and that we're looking at racism and some of the things that keep us apart and how we make for change.
Question, but what is your feeling about the empowerment of women of color in higher positions of politics in throughout the state?
Well, we need a lot of women. We're about 25% in the legislature, so definitely women of color are like even less when you look at that. I think it's something like 3%. So, I'm all for it because we need that diversity. We need government as a body to be looking like who we are as a people. So, I would really like to see that happen.
That's a beautiful answer. Folks, I want to thank you for just stopping by and sharing a few moments of your busy time and stuff like that.
To see everyone here today.
All right. That was Representative Mary Keefe. Now we're going to hear from a budding person running for office now. We're going to hear from Moses Dixon, who's running for the representative seat in Worcester here in the 17th District. See what old Moses has to say about the women of color. I'm sure it'll be powerful.
Make sure that we not only have representation from the communities of color, but women from communities of color.
Yeah, I want to echo that because I really don't like excuse me, talking too much, but I'm going to say it anyways because we just had the Senator Chandler on here, and she just made it known that Senator Fox, the woman of color, the single woman of color, is be leaving the Senate.
Representative Fox.
Yeah, Representative Fox. Yeah. So that's going to open up a congressional seat, maybe you mentioned state house seat. Okay, you'll already be in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's important, Representative Fox is leaving, but we got to find more, particularly African-American women to run for state office and eventually Congress.
Yeah, African-American, Latino,
Asian, all women of color.
All women of color. Yeah, that's powerful. Hey, I know they really appreciate you coming by here to give support to the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, which I think is a very bold move on this. This isn't little kid stuff here. This big people stuff here. So I want to thank you again for coming by and sharing a few minutes. Got any last words you'd like to say to anybody or something?
Yeah, absolutely. It is important that we support groups like this group and getting other women of color elected to office, but it's also important that people go out and early vote if you can, but also vote on November the 8th, because it's always better to show up than to give up.
I agree. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Future representative. All right, that was Moses. That was Moses Dixon. He's going to be a representative one of these days. Actually, maybe a week from now. And now we're just going to talk a little bit from the women that were there at the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition startup event to kick off this great thing like that. So we're going to hear from several of the women. Hi, this is Tupa Joe, and I'm here with Imrana, and she can pronounce her last name.
Sufi.
Well, how'd you like the event?
Oh, it was wonderful. I unfortunately wasn't able to come at the very beginning, but I was able to come in midway, and it's just absolutely incredible to see all of my sisters of color together and talking about the things that we need to be talking about. So it was wonderful. I'm really looking forward to the next time we get together again.
Is there something that moved you with great amount of passion that you really want to get involved with out of this?
Absolutely. I think to have a forum, where women of color can talk about the challenges that we face, but also to be able to mentor each other, to be able to support each other around issues of and areas in education and healthcare and politics and the prison system. All of that, the legal system, to be able to know that you have people just like yourself, that you can reach out to and help and gain benefit from and work together. It's super inspiring because usually as a woman of color, in the world you exist like this solo person, so to bring us all together and to know there are more like us, it's great. It's wonderful.
Well, that's great to put a face and a voice out there that represents you. That's a powerful thing, right like that anyway. But and the political arena, I think, is for me, I think that's a very something that needs to be addressed and in a quick hurry.
I agree with you with the political arena, but I would say I think economic empowerment to me is numero uno, number one, absolutely, because I think I'm going to go back to Du Bois, W.E.B. Du Bois. He was all about education, right? And then later on he said, you know what, when you educate a whole bunch of people who are people of color, it's great, but what happens is usually about the 10% is who it impacts, and then they sort of align with the people who are rich, so it becomes the rich minorities, right? And then 90% get left behind. So then he came back and he was just like, no, we got to economically empower minorities. So for me, I really, this is a man who dedicated his entire life. I really look up to him. When people talk about famous African-American men, of course, you hear about Malcolm X, you hear about Martin Luther King, but then there are other giants, right? So economic empowerment to me, I think, is so important for minorities, specifically, any minority, because then you're building your base to influence politics, right? Politicians are influenced.
They are influenced.
Not just by public opinion, but also by economics. We got lobbying groups, and there's all of this money behind influence. So we have to build our economic strength to have the ability to influence politics.
I agree 100%, and Du Bois is one of the people I like. One of the first books I read was Dark Water, so I really like Du Bois myself. He's around this area someplace.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. That's great to hear. So yeah, that's where I'm sort of like really hoping economic empowerment, that we do focus on that. There's so much, but what can we do together to promote businesses that are minority owned, women owned, and to help, right? There's so many businesses that are there. How do we support them to get bigger?
Yeah, this is a big challenge and everything. And I want to thank you for stopping by for a few minutes and sharing your comments and likes and dislikes and educating me on a very lovely, beautiful name that I can't even pronounce. So I'm going to let you say.
Well, now you can pronounce it, right?
A little bit.
We'll work on that. So one of the businesses that we have started is called Black Seed Farmers Market. So Black Seed Farmers Market, we actually promote local fresh farm produce and vegetables being sold directly from our local farmers and producers to the local community. And again, why should we give our hard-earned money to corporations when we could keep it in the community? So Black Seed Farmers Market, we purchase a lot from local farmers, some of whom are actually refugee farmers who, for a lot of them who don't know how to speak English, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but they can farm, so they're producing. So immediately we get them economically empowered because they are now farming, which they've been doing, and they are selling, right? And in the meantime, they're also learning English and everything, but it's like why don't we take somebody's skills, what they already know how to do, and help them to earn money. Why do we have to teach them how to run a register?
Exactly.
Right?
They let them do what they do.
So come and support Black Seed Farmers Market. We started July 10th of this year. We're going to continue to run a winter market. So it's a farmers market that was outdoors. We're going to come indoors. Look for us. We're going to be in Maine South, indoor. Yep, we're going to be doing a grand opening in Maine South. We're at the current moment we're doing it from 2 to 4 p.m. indoors Fridays at 248 East Mountain Street. We'll be coming, but keep it on the radar. And and we'd love to have more local producers. You know, people. We sell everything from goat's milk soap to honey to maple syrup. You know, to produce. Oh, a grass-fed beef. I mean, you name it. We can produce it, and we are selling it. I mean, we don't produce it ourselves, but we have a space where local producers can sell. So we are the market.
That all your farmers, black seed farmers, are able to be real prosperous and stuff. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank
All
you
right.
for having me.
Hi, I'm here with Felicia, and she can say her last name.
Battles Birdsong.
Battles Bursa. Well, how'd you like the event?
I loved it. I think that women are coming together in a strong way. I think that we're going to make a hurricane crash and not a puddle splash. I think that we're going to be out there in dynamic numbers and dynamic colors. So I'm happy to be here.
Wow, it sounds like you got this thing all figured out. So you're from the Eastern region in Boston. Yes, the struggle has existed for a long time, so it's not anything new. It's just the fight is old, but we're just getting into it, and I think we have a new strategy that's going to work this time. And this is statewide, so that's a challenge in itself right there, just the communication.
It is. I think that because we have so many diversities around the table, that the language is going to be broken down in ways it's easy to digest, that people are going to be able to relay it around, so the word's going to get out fast and furious. So
Fast and you use a lot of those nice little kind of metaphors and things. You a writer?
I'm not. I'm just a community advocate. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should take up writing. You know how to use words in a very positive way, and I know you're going to take that positive way and just transform that and put that right on this Women of Color Coalition.
I am. I think that when I do decide to take whatever stand I do in terms of organization, the movement is going to be hard. I think that we're going to strategize around the politics, around the economic diversities, around education, criminal justice. And each point that we start out with is going to have such a movement, such a strong foundation that even if this coalition stops 10 years from now, our foundations will still be there, that people will be able to pick up this and keep moving with it. So.
Do you have one area that really moves you passionately?
All of them do. I mean, they're all tied in. I mean, it's hard to say one, but if I had to, I would say it would be economic justice, pretty much, economic development, because inside of all that, you look at criminal justice, you look at the politics, you look at the politics of poverty, you look at education, and they're so tied in. Health and wellness, you know, everybody's sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, you know,
exactly. You chose one of the hardest ones to really advocate for, but one of the ones that's most needed.
It is. I mean, especially Massachusetts, people say it's such a liberal state, and it is in some degree, but there are colors that are not seen. And in any good quilt that anybody even makes, I'm from the South, my family is, and so when you make a quilt, you have different fabrics, and you sew them together really strong to keep warm. That's what has to happen with these coalitions. That's what has to happen with women of color. We've got to band together, hold strong, and make a very big quilt to cover all these things that are cold, all the cold issues, these cold issues of criminal justice, cold issues of poverty. We have to make it work somehow, and I think that this organization is going to do that.
I agree with you. I like your quilt analogy there. Reminds me of Harriet Tubman. You know, there's communication in that quilt too, not just one.
That's right. Harriet was saying a lot and doing a lot, you know, and I think just speaking about where she was doing her Underground Railroad, I mean, you know, that transported thousands of people, so hundreds, and what we're trying to do is transport people from the old thinking to the new thinking, the inclusion, from the exclusion to the inclusion, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what this movement is about.
That's great. So we're here right now with, I'm going to let her say it,
Felicia Battles Birdsong.
Felicia's Battles Birdsong, the Eastern Coalition founding member of the Women You say that.
Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition.
Massachusetts Women Coalition. I'm bad with names. All right. Thank you very much. Hi, this is Trooper Joe, and I'm here with the lovely Nicole Brody, and she's an author and a student in Worcester State College, and I'm just going to see if we can get a couple of words from her about her book. I would like to hear about her book and her journey.
Awesome. Well, I wrote a book called Exposing the Bondage Within, which just kind of speaks to my personal journey and experience through mental bondage and how I freed myself and how I found the answers to my life within inside of myself. And I'm just trying to inspire others to do the same.
Wow, that's powerful. Mental bondage. I can't even imagine what mental bondage feels like. I know it must hurt.
It does. You know, we're all bound by something, whether we're holding ourselves back socially, just holding ourselves back from taking chances in life and believing in ourselves. And sometimes we don't realize that the answers that we have are right within ourselves.
I agree. So I want to thank you for stopping by and sharing a little bit about your book. You want to give the title and how people can get to your book, and I want to wish you great luck in your adventures in education and anything in life. You know.
Thank you so much. So again, the title is called Exposing the Bondage Within. You can purchase it online at Amazon or any bookstore that sells books online.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Nicole. Bye. Bye. Hi, this is Trooper Joe. I'm here with Polly right now. This is Polly.
Harley Jones.
And what did you think about today's event? And where do you think it's going to go from now?
Well, I'm ready to put in work with these sisters, and it's just getting people motivated because I'm quite sure every woman in that room has been doing the work. And now if we can come together and do it together, it'll be more powerful. So I'm excited.
You're excited? Yeah, you want to see black women in charge of the whole state. We need to have more black women in politics, I think, is my biggest issue.
Oh, women of color, period. We need to just come up to where we need to take care of ourselves. Politics is not my thing, but all the other platforms I'm definitely in. But my sister's got the political thing. All I got to do is show up when they tell me. And if I can, put my talents in one of the other platforms, that's where I'm going to be. So it's a place we don't have to, do everything, but we can focus on what we like, but be there to support the sisters that are working on the other platforms.
Yeah. Well, that was Polly Jones, and I think this thing is going to go forward in a big way now. Polly's behind it. It has no other place but to go but up. She don't allow down. She don't allow it down. All right.
I do it anyway, right?
Hi, this is Trooper Joe, and I'm here from ArchAngel A, Return to Chivalry with Pam Carter from the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, who's here with the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition. Pam, what brings you here with the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition?
Well, one of the founders of MA.W.O.C.C. is my friend and coworker Celia Blue at Rhode Island DOT. She's a very inspiring woman, and she asked me to help out, so I'm volunteering with their Facebook page, with public relations a little bit. We're trying to spread the word.
Oh, that's great. And so they got 5 issues here. You want to kind of give me your take on the 5 issues that they talk about? Politics, education, economics.
Well, I can talk about politics at length. I'm the policy director at Rhode Island DOT, and to me that's a really important feature of what they're trying to do here at the Women of Color Coalition. I feel like that there's not enough women, especially women of color, in leadership positions all over the country, really, but mostly in our part of the world in New England. So to me it's really important that we get some wonderfully strong women leaders who have a really good agenda, and I think this group is going to lead the way for that.
Yeah, well, that sounds powerful. I agree 100% that there needs to be more women in the lead positions within politics and all these things, education, criminal justice, and health and welfare seems to be the big issue here too on the
Right. I mean, there's so many health inequities too. I also sit on a health and equity board in Rhode Island, and there's communities that have food deserts, that have high rates of breast cancer, all kinds of issues. So I think they're doing important work.
Yes, I have to agree 100% with that. Can you talk a little bit? What about criminal justice reform? Specifically to women?
to women especially, I mean, criminal justice is such a huge issue. You know, in Rhode Island, and one of the problems Rhode Island has is anyone who commits an offense is on probation for like 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
So how does anybody get a second chance in this life, you know? And I feel like women who are mothers and things like that are really well equipped to talk about giving people a second chance, helping people out of a bad situation, and giving them jobs, giving them opportunities. So again, I think this group is really well positioned for that.
Is there a lot of women incarcerated in Rhode Island?
Certainly more men, and certainly more men of color, but there are women incarcerated. It's all because of the drug epidemic and the enforcement there, you know?
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Seems to be everywhere. Now, what about education?
Well, education is all about zip code in this country, and I think that's a real shame. You know, where you live, if you go to a public school, determines if you have a good enough school to go to, and there's so many failing schools. So, you know, to me, it's really important for, again, women to step forward, because we're definitely the advocates for children, and say, you know, no, this shouldn't be happening. We want all of our kids to learn, and we don't want education reforms to take 20 years, and then you've missed a whole generation of kids.
I agree. Here in Massachusetts, we got the, I forget the number, but it's on the increasing the charter school system.
Right, yeah.
A quick yes or no.
I'm not sold on charter schools. I know that there's some good ones out there, but I worry that it takes money away from public education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we ain't going to go into that. About economic empowerment, that would come under the whole guise of the whole thing.
Yes. I mean, again, if we get women leaders, then we get more women in good economic positions, more jobs out there. You know, in Rhode Island, that's what our governor's doing. She's pushing for jobs, jobs, jobs. That's really important.
And that's great to have a woman in the controlling chair there in Rhode Island.
Yes,
so.
We love Gina Raimondo. She's great.
Well, thank you, Pam, for spending a few minutes with us and everything, and hopefully enjoy the festival and stuff. Hi, I'm Trooper Joe again. I'm back here with Danielle Williams, the president of the Urban League, the eastern section of Massachusetts, and he's here to support the Women of Color Coalition, right? Is that right?
Oh, very much so, and thank you for having me here. Darnell Williams, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, and I'm really very humbly grateful that I was able to stop by today on this official launch for the Mass Women of Color Coalition. And I think it's just a phenomenal concept and idea where Black and Latino and Indigenous women and Asian women who are coming together from across the Commonwealth to deal with some of the structural issues that are confronting them, and the areas of their platform is very noteworthy. So I'm grateful for, as a male, to be here to let them know that even though they're focusing on women, that men are standing behind them to show where we can support.
And that's powerful, because we need more women of color in positions of power.
Absolutely. No, I think that their platform talked about politics. There's never been a Black female at our state level for a statewide seat, and it's due time. If we can have a woman that's going to be potentially president of the United States, Massachusetts needs to catch up to the times. And when you think about Black men and Black women also on the corporate boards, that's an opportunity for us. And then when we look at equal pay for women of color in terms of their counterparts, white women as well as white men, those are notable areas where they can focus in their efforts on and come up with, I think, with our structural methods that they can eradicate those disparities or inequities that exist.
But I would like to hear, what do you think about women of color homeschooling their children?
Well, I think homeschooling is a personal choice for people who have the means and the educational background to provide their children with, I call, a structured, basic, foundational, educational outlook of life and learning, and what I would call skill sets that they would need when they go on to college. So that's a personal choice. But as it relates to public schools and charter schools, I don't know that I heard today whether or not they've made a definitive position in terms of the charter school cap or the expansion. But I think that, you know, for them to be involved in the education disparities, that's something that's very important.
Yeah, I agree and everything. Well, I want to thank you for just stopping by on your busy day and spending a few minutes here with Archangel, sharing the Chivalry and the 5 o'clock shadow.
Well, I want to thank you both for allowing me to take this time to spend time for you and your listening and viewing audience, and for my support for the women. And I wish them all the best, and I will give them whatever support that I can in my travels.
Oh, that's a great thing. Thanks again there, Danielle Williams, president of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts. Thanks again. Hi, I'm here with Marisa Cruz, Vice President of the Worcester Central Agency, for the event that went on today. Tell me something.
Well, I'm actually the Vice President for the Central Massachusetts region for the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition.
Okay, yes. you get that, folks? I made a mistake, G.
That's all right.
So how'd you like the event?
Well, the event was wonderful. I think it's something that we have been working on for about a year now. Roughly started last year, and it's a beautiful thing to see it come to fruition the way it has. And for us, it's important because it's harnessing the power that we as women of color have. It's harnessing that energy, because each one of us is actually doing a lot of work, in our respective communities, whether in different parts of Massachusetts. And so, the ideal is to really take that and, bring it together and create a movement, a sisterhood.
Sisterhood, yeah. I noticed that you have some very powerful people that you have aligned yourself with, and this looks like it's going to go forward in a big way. Now, is there one area that you have that's passionate to you in this?
For me, the passion is really organizing. I'm an organizer by trade, and I think that, as organizers, we see a need in our communities, and you say, oh, okay, there's a deficit, there's a disparity there. We need to work on that. We need to address that. That, for me, is what it's important, and being part of, many women organizing this whole coalition and continue to organize, because in order for it to be successful, we have to work at it. We have to work very hard. I think one of the most important things for me personally is to really elect women of color into public office and appointed positions. Because if you want to create change, it starts with policy and changing the law. That's how any movement started, with the civil rights movement, the vote to right for women, pay equity, all of that. So that for me is it's crucial that we have people who look like us and represent our views and know the needs that we have as communities and voice that. So that's why for me politics and being in the public eye is so super important.
Yeah, I have to agree with that kind of thought process you have going on there, but there's another process. The future's coming. Can't hold it back and everything, and the girls are growing up now. And talking to Celia just a moment ago, and you got in Central Massachusetts, you got some kind of plan in your head to help out with the educational part of the girls of color, to bring them forward, to be the politicians, to be the CEOs and stuff?
Well, this is why this organization was created, this coalition of women, because we actually have women and our own folks that are working in those fields. We have people that are working in politics, and we have people that are working in education and health and wellness. So for us is to again bring that together and see what resources we have, because what we want to do is create a network that we are able to have the ability that when we need something in our community, we can do a call to action, because we have this base. And let me tell you something, when you have a base of women who are active, who are civic-minded, and you call those women to action, the rest of the people are going to take notice.
Yeah, I well known that. I was raised. I know.
You're a fortunate man. You were blessed.
Over scared, man.
Oh, jeez. You were blessed. Because women, and I was raised in a family I come from very strong women. I am Boricua, Puerto Rican, Taino, and it's a matriarchal society that we descend from. And, we had women chiefs. So, women are the nurturers. We are the caretakers. We are hopeful. We are the believers, because I look oftentimes women in our communities, especially in our communities of color, are not given the credit. It's usually the man who's tapped. But you know what? When you really look at any movement, women are the ones that see, because we're the ones that take care of everybody. And we see the deficits, and we see the struggle, and we see the hopelessness and the despair, and we're like, oh no, that's not acceptable. Yeah. We got to do something about this. And so you do it. And for one of the things that's really important about this coalition is that we are intergenerational. We want women older, younger, women of all ages, because wisdom comes with age. Yeah. You know, and of course, knowledge is always learned. It's an ongoing thing. So from young people, we learn from each other. But the most important thing, it cuts across socioeconomic lines. You know, you can be a professional, you can be in an elected office, but you can also be a mother, stay at home, you can work in a factory, it doesn't matter what level you are in, you are welcome here. We want you here because you are valuable. And what you have to say and the work you do is valuable to us.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. The youth do bring a lot of new creative type of thought process to this stuff, and then the people, the older people, they bring experience and wisdom into this, and that's a powerful combination. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So it looks like you women are going to have the whole thing going in a very strong, positive way. The train will be moving, and that's a good thing. Thank you.
It's a good thing, and with the support of our men, it's even better, because you know what, working together, that's how we get things done. Thank you so much.
I agree, working together is how you get, but I can't speak for all the men, but I'm very proud to follow the lead of the women.
All right, thank you. You're my kind of man.
Thank you. That was Melissa Cruz. We want to thank you for what you've been doing and what you're about to do. Thank you very much. Hi, this is Trooper Joe, and I'm here with the president and one of the founders of this great event that just went on empowering women. Can you tell me more about how you got started and what made this happen?
Sure. So throughout my life, I've had people help me along the way, but there's always been challenges. And I've always felt that whatever role I'm in, that it's larger than me, and giving back to our community is important. So this is sort of the work I think all of us in the founding members of the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition have been involved in. It evolved over the years, but most recently I've had a vision around having a global movement for women of color. And we view this public launch today, and we hope and pray that it's the first of many to come. And the historic nature of it being here in Worcester is really important because of the women's national movement that took place here in the same very month many, many years ago. So we got started about 16 months ago, where I was really in a trying time in my career, and it really brought it in the forefront for me. And I really realized that we had to really focus on us, women of color, because our voices was just not being heard. And when we're at the table, there's either just only one or very few of us. And so I worked with women throughout my career in Boston that were part of my team and my board of directors, I like to call them. And so I said to myself, I'm going to stop whining about this. I'm really going to draw a line in the sand. This was February last year, and really put my money where my mouth is and start doing something about it. And so when I thought about it initially, I wanted it to be a coalition across Massachusetts because I thought it was important as a first chapter. And at the same time, Brenda Jenkins in Parallel Tracks was working with women in Central Mass and people of color in Central Mass, working on some of the very same thing. And she had a breakfast last April that brought women of color together in Central Mass, and I was invited to that breakfast, and we connected and bonded, and from there we reached out to other women in the major cities which were target: Boston, Worcester, and Springfield. And so we have women that are like-minded that have been working together over the last 16 months to bring this forward.
Wow, that's powerful and very it says a lot about a networking event anyway, just to meet up with Brenda, who I know, and she's a very inspiring, powerful person.
Her and I are co-founders because her vision, she was at the time was working with pulling women of color together in Central Mass. And my vision is a global one and pull together women across the state to begin with. So really we formed, and she was there. We were kindred spirits is what we call that, right? When our minds are alike and we just are so passionate about women of color and the fact that we really need to start advocating for the bold changes that are so necessary in this country and really around the world.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the fact that as women of color, it's not just one specific minority group. It's because I heard Native American, and a lot of the times I don't think Native Americans get any kind of recognition at all.
And this is why it was so important. It was so important for me from the very beginning that we are formed for women of color, because it's about all of us. It's about all of us, our Asian descent sisters, our Native American, our Latina, our Asians, our Middle Eastern sisters, our Black sisters, our Caribbean sisters. I mean, there are so many of us in all different shades, but we need to be united as one, and that's what makes us so powerful. And quite frankly, in this country, I think it is 2050, we are going to be the largest minority group. So you have to pay attention, because it's very important that we start making those changes and people really realize how important it is to really hear our voices and address some of the needs that we need to address in terms of inequities.
Yeah, I agree. Even the men of color and stuff like that, we have to look more towards the future now. We can highlight all the events that have taken place in the past, because some of them are written down, so you can read them anytime you want to. But you got to have that projection into the future, I think. And this is what you're kind of you're really saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're saying that our time is now. We're saying that it is time for us to own our experiences, own our truth, own the challenges that we face, but also to make sure that we do something about it. And so we are graduating colleges at a good clip. When you look at the small businesses that are growing, women of color actually have grown the small businesses at a very good percentage. And so we want to have a seat, more than one seat at the table. We want to have many seats, because we truly reflect the fabric of our country, and we need to be a part of those conversations.
Yeah. Now, I understand that the Miss Fox, who's she's leaving the political arena now, make no women of color in the political arena here in Massachusetts.
Right. She was the only minority woman of color. She is African American, and she was the only one, and now she is vacating that seat. And so, this stuff is real. Yeah. This stuff is real. We do not have the appropriate representations in all different areas of our country, and that really needs to change. And it starts with us. It starts with us making that push to make sure that happens, because if we don't, then nobody else will do that for us.
Okay, I got one more question for you about the youth. Just how are you going to incorporate the youth in this outside of the school, regular this? Is there some kind of home training type of program that you women of color might come together and put for the women, the future women?
Sure. So what's great about our coalition and our organization is that it is stored in with girls of color from high school. So we really have that eye out for really educating, empowering, and mentoring our young girls so that they are more prepared for the future. And so we will have specific now we have 5 platforms that we're focused on, right? We're focused on economic empowerment, empowerment. We're focused on health and wellness. We're focused on politics. We're also focused on education, K through 12, and the criminal justice system. So that's the platforms that we'll focus on, but we're also going to integrate our young girls because, for example, even just learning about and being trained about what it takes to even run for office, that's very important that they understand that. And even if they decide not to run for an office, that they understand the process and why it's important to get involved in voting, for example. So we'll have different, under each platforms, we'll make sure that there's a component that's carved out for our young girls and our millennial sisters that are in the colleges and so forth.
That's powerful. I want to thank you for all this here, because I'm the man of color, and we kind of lazy and like to play a lot. So I know the future's going to be in some really good hands and stuff. So I'm really thankful that there's women of color out there who want to step up here and make the changes happen.
Okay, well, thank you for being here with us today. We really feel that this is an historical launch, and that that it's here in Worcester. Sometimes people say a lot of things happen in Boston. Well, you know what? There's a lot of things that's happening in Worcester, and we have the history around the women's national movement in this very month. 1850 started here, and so that's why it's really important that people understand that there is a world beyond Boston. And that we are focused on the state as a whole, and so that there is a home for every woman of color and our girls of color in our organization.
Wow. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. Hi, it's Trooper Joe, and I'm here with Brenda Jenkins, Keeping It Real, and one of the founders of this coalition movement that's here. Can we have a few words from you, Brenda?
Yes, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the 5 o'clock shadow, Will McNeil, and I'd like to thank Trooper Joe, ArchAngel, for taking your time and coming and interviewing and supporting this event. That means so much to us, and just let you all know that this organization is going to support you guys' business. I want to say that shout out first.
Thank you.
Yes, and so that being said, as a co-founder of the Massachusetts Women of Coalition, I'm very excited. I don't want to be redundant because I know you've had interviews with some very powerful women. I think one of the most important things is that we have an opportunity to influence our power across the state and show that we have the ability to sit in places where they don't think we can sit. I think right now what we have to do is continue to intergenerational. We have to bring the young people in. I think that will carry it. We need to involve the universities, the Black student unions, the Third World alliances across the state. And so those are things that we're already working at currently at this point. We talk about through the Commonwealth that this is going to actually play a very instrumental part. What some of the women probably didn't hear, we already have women calling from Cape, Providence, Rhode Island, Hartford, Connecticut. We've already got calls coming in that want to actually create connect that pipeline to what we're doing. So we're actually going to debrief and talk about how do we create that that pipeline based upon those women in other states. This is powerful. So I'm a person, first and foremost, if you heard me when I close, is that I give all honor to God, because without him, he's head of my household, number one. And so without him, this doesn't happen. So
that's an amen.
That's an amen. So, I get to recognize, number one. And when you're doing God's work and carrying his cross, that you're going to come with persecution. You're going to come with all the critical analysis. And so, we're prepared for this. I've been through it through Mosaic. I've stood through the fire. People said A, B, and C. But one thing I do know, what's in the doctrine and the light. That's not in the word. But I know if you stand for Christ, he'll bring what you do for him into fruition. So I'm excited about that, number one. And I think that the other thing, we can't do this without infrastructure of men of color. And as you know, that's a passion for me, and particularly you two young men that I know that are part of the Men of Color think tank, and it all interconnects. So I'm going to encourage and hopefully empower that one day or within 2017 that there'll be an ability to us network, collectively and collaboratively together, because I think that it's time that we heal, it's time that we let go and only be consumed of the things that we are in control of. We have to create our own infrastructure. When we talk about structural racism, internalized interpersonal racism, that can be individually and that could be structurally, governmental, however institution. But to change the game You got to create your own infrastructure. We have to rebuild in our own communities of color. And so we will do that, and we will align with our white allies, you know, and how we complement the work that needs to be done. So I say that to you both to continue to encourage us so we can encourage you, because I believe there's an opportunity for a Worcester in the state of Massachusetts.
I'm with you on a lot of that myself, but I think that the women, the lead has to come from the women. I'm not going to pretend any other things like that. Men have a habit of playing. You know, the lead has to come from the women. You guys are the organizers. You guys are the spot. And the youth has a creative mind now. Their mindset isn't as cognitive as it once was. Their mindset is creative, and the future's coming, and they're going to be the ones that participate in the future. But the skill sets that they need is being brought to them by people like you. And I think that what the women are doing is so powerful and so needed that it has no choice but to be successful. To what degree? That's something else.
But I totally agree. You hit it right on the head, Joe. I think the other thing too is like ArchAngel Chivalry. Yeah. I mean, you know, people don't want to address that and talk about that, and that's a reality of what interchange based upon everything that you talked about. But also we talk about people like you who has a given heart in many capacities, many resources, a lot of wisdom, you know, so you know, and so I just want to recognize that's important to me. You know, I love this guy, literally, you know, and more than, for many reasons, because you encourage me, you empower me, and you know, you live the dream, the world is yours, you know. And so we can't get stuck on radical behavior because it doesn't bring the intent of impact, what the outcomes that need to happen and what we're trying to attain. And so when we get radical and we lose who we are and we don't have the ability to see a pathway, then you will lose momentum. You will lose people that will open doorways for you. You have to have people that have the ability to engage with all kinds of people. Yeah. Whether you black, white, straight, green, blue, or yellow. It don't matter. The reality is do you know your purpose? We know our purpose, and that's the purpose of what we're doing here today. So I leave here to say thank you, 5 o'clock Shadow, Will McNeil. I thank you, Trooper Joe, for ArchAngel. I said, because without you two brothers, this would not have happened. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for this movement. I'm really excited to watch and see how this women's coalition moves forward in Massachusetts.
We have a lot of work.
Oh, yes, you do.
We have a lot of work, but you know something? We're going to do it.
Yeah. And I'll bring my flaming sword, because that's how we archangels, we kind of travel with that.
Well, you got me? Alright, I'm back. That was our interview, folks. That was with the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition and stuff. That was Celia Boone. She was the president and founder, and before her was Celia Blue. She was the president and founder of this coalition, and she's very articulate, very powerful young lady. And before that was Brenda Jenkins, and we had several other people that was very powerful people in this coalition. This thing is going to go. It's going to go a long way, and it's going to be something that's going to make a change in the way we see Massachusetts from this point forward. I can honestly believe in that. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning into our special edition of ArchAngel A Return to Chivalry.
Hey, what's poppin'? It's your boy Truth It, and I'm inviting you 5 p.m. Mondays through Fridays to tune into the 5 o'clock Shadow. On the 5 o'clock Shadow, we talk about current events, and no subject is off the table. I ain't scared. We also want you to be a part of the show. We encourage you to call in and give your opinion on whatever it is that's on your mind. Just know that weekdays at 5 o'clock, it's time to buckle up because you're going for a wild ride. Catch Rich, Natalie, and your boy Truth It on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock Shadow, only on 7avradio.com.
VOV 91.3, Voices of Voices, we in the house. I'm Nate Peter Ghost, Barack King X, Kuta Kente, 1 foot off.
Same Mike, Michael J. Thriller, Mike Talk a Lot, Ego Spiritual, Beautiful Mind, Jesus Crack, Mike Camera Action, I'm in the building.
What's going on? VOV, Voice of the Voiceless. It's your man Keith Laporte, a.k.a. Sir Lord Keys the Thought, a.k.a. Keys to Life, the one-man team.
And I'm Trooper Joe, and I'm here to keep it real for you.
Tune in to Voice of the Voiceless every Tuesday, 12 to 1.
All right.